All right, everyone. Welcome, Josie. The redheaded libertarian is here. Very special guest. Thanks for coming, Josie.
Oh, thank you for having me. Sorry, my video is down right now, but there's some cloud cover and I got a dish, so this is the best we can
Oh,
do.
no worries. You have a very great audio voice.
Oh,
Um,
thank
so yeah, Sean, let's get started. Let's talk about the chaos of Twitter, the reinstatements, the non-reinstatements. It's a wild time, guys.
Yeah, it was kind of like Christmas come early for a lot of accounts this weekend. Yeah, I mean, we obviously, people like James Lindsay have been let on, Donald Trump's been let on, the Babylon Bee. But yeah, I mean, what is the process? I think there's still a lot of people that are confused. There's still thousands of accounts out there that haven't been let on, and they don't know like what the next steps are. So
It's interesting. I mean, I lost my account for a year and a half, arbitrarily, never knew why, and I got it back the day after Elon Musk said he was going to buy Twitter. So that was like he said, made the announcement maybe on the 26th of April. I got my account back on the 27th. It was something in that time frame. But there was nothing that I did to trigger that. It just kind of happened. And
No, you received no email or anything?
no, I just got notified that I violated the terms of service. I wasn't notified of which tweet, nothing, just that I violated it. And then, I mean, I think back to when when Tim had gone on Joe Rogan and talked to Vijaya,
Mm-hmm.
and she had said a whole thing about how they do that, but it's rare. Like usually they have a tweet and they do a whole thing, but then she said how there are very, very few cases where that's the way that they'll do it, and that's what happened to me. And then just the timing of when I got it back made me think it was they knew what they were doing, who they were doing to, and it was
Mm-hmm.
very specific. Um, and they probably had a whole file of them that they just put us there and released us all at the same time. Would be my
And have
guess.
you talked to anyone who has anyone else who's recently been let on? Is it kind of a similar thing where they're just like let back on and they don't necessarily know why? It just kind of happened.
That week that I came back, a lot of people had the same exact thing happen. Just suddenly were reinstated in that week, and it was only a week. And then after that, they stopped. So they think it was some kind of damage control that they were doing to start letting
Yeah.
people.
What's really fascinating to me is that the terms of service on Twitter are
Mhm.
unchanged. They're the same terms now, even today, after Trump is back, as far as I know. And
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I have seen no official announcements of any like majorly updated Twitter terms which allow all this. So basically, the terms that we're banning everybody
Are
are
still in state.
they're still in effect, and yet so it's very funny just because Elon's original statement and the reason that he delayed in the first place is he was saying, okay, we're going to put together this content moderation council. We're not having any reinstatements until this council convenes, and we're going to have an actual process. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, well, we don't really want to wait, but I guess that does sound reasonable.
Yeah.
And now he's just randomly letting people
Mhm.
back
yeah,
He's doing this Freedom Fridays thing. Did you see that?
up. Yeah,
no,
I
I
saw that.
didn't. I
Yeah,
didn't see
so
that.
he wrote Freedom Friday and it got like a million likes or whatever because that's how people respond. But
Yeah.
somebody commented in it, "Oh, so he's going to be bringing, big accounts back on Fridays. That's kind of cool." And I went to his likes and Elon had liked that comment. So, and he doesn't, like a lot of things or anything like that unless it's like a really funny meme, but he liked this guy's comment. So I think that that's what he's doing. Every Friday we're going to get some big name back. Um would be my guess, or a few big names back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Sean,
the
can
issue
you
though.
go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if you could go to the tweet that we did this morning about kind of the arbitrary nature.
Yes.
I thought, yeah, so we said arbitrary account reinstatement causes similar community confusion to arbitrary censorship. It's a step in the right direction, but it's not the solution. And I think that, I hope that they actually come out with a process like Josie, you were saying, Justin Amash was also getting at, because it's great that all these high profile people are coming back, except for Alex Jones.
Mhm.
But what about all the people who don't have audiences?
Yep. Yeah, everybody. It's almost like clean slate for everybody unless they were a bot, and he has the technology to figure that out. Just give everyone a clean slate, let everybody start fresh. And then I feel like once everybody's here, then he can say, okay, these are the terms and service. These are our new rules. Here are the rules. Everybody sees them at once. You're all here. You all start at the same place.
Yeah.
Maybe what happened, and this is just speculation, but like, these legal terms, for Twitter's content moderation policy and whatnot, these documents take a long time to develop. They've taken an extremely long time to develop, and to change them is not easy. So maybe what happened is they started going through this whole process of putting together a council, redoing the terms, and then they were like, whoa, this is going to take like months.
Yeah.
And then Elon basically realized, well, I don't want to wait months to reinstate people. So maybe that's why, because they have to change the terms at some point. They can't just, leave up all of these terms that everybody, like the ones that Tim called out with Vijaya. He called out politically charged terms like dead naming, which is a politicized term, and obviously everyone wants everyone to be nice to each other, but the reality is that a certain group of the population thinks that dead naming is super offensive and hate speech. Another portion of the population thinks it's just being biologically accurate,
and it's compelled speech.
Right. So they haven't removed that term yet. So it's like currently Twitter's mods are not obeying their own terms.
I think that you're correct, and that it's going to take some time to develop. And I mean, he is banning people like CP. I won't say what that means, but he's banning those people. Those people are still coming down. Eliza Blue. I don't know if you follow her. She's an advocate. She was noting that, and Elon actually liked one of the things that she said about that when she recognized a thing that he was doing. So I know that when it comes to actually dangerous accounts, they're dealing with them. But I'm not sure about just arbitrary, swearing and the stuff that was getting other people banned before. I haven't heard of anybody.
Yeah, she must be so stoked. She's been working so hard. I'm so happy for her.
Yeah,
and I'm so glad that I'm so glad that Elon is listening to that. And like, because no one can argue, CP is number one priority. It has to be.
He's such an important voice.
Yeah, I have no issues that he's letting people on, and it kind of seems to me it's almost like a party where certain people are on the list and the other people are kind of waiting out in the cold to get into the bar. And like, I have no issues that he's letting them in right now, but maybe have some type of statement that's like, hey, we're letting in certain people right now, but we're working on the appeal process for the people that are waiting, or like something.
Exactly. Like, you would think, like, because that's so easy to do, just make a statement giving people reasonable expectations about like what's the plan. And it's just like he doesn't, there's just nothing in terms of a plan, so that people waiting out in the cold can kind of understand. And then let's go to Tim's tweet about the Alex Jones situation, because I think that Tim understands this very succinctly. And he basically it had to do with Oliver Darcy.
He tweets
do you remember this, Josie?
Hold on.
So the actual reason that Alex was claimed to have been banned was because he was at this event and was filming it and confronted Oliver Darcy, and was getting very intense in front of him. It was basically doing like a confrontation video.
Yeah.
And that's that's why he got banned. He didn't get banned because of the whole Sandy Hook thing.
Oh, that came after. Yeah.
Way after. I mean, the lawsuit might have started, but like, that is 100% not why he was banned. And so what are your thoughts on, now Elon basically saying that, I didn't know this about Elon, but it seems that tragically his first child died in his arms.
Yes.
And so
can't even imagine.
Yeah, and so absolutely that it, has impacted him. But he's basically saying the reason that he's not letting Alex on is because of the Sandy Hook stuff,
Yep.
which wasn't the reason that he got banned.
It was something that, I mean, if you think, like, from a libertarian perspective, Alex Jones, Elon Musk can do business with whoever he wants to do business with, just as, a libertarian. Like, I understand. I understand that perspective, that he's like, all right, I really just don't care for this guy. This guy is drama. This guy is, however Elon views him. I could be wrong, but I feel like there was another, I read likes by people to kind of get into their heads. And I feel like he liked something that somebody articulated, that Alex Jones was just like not a good person, and he liked it. I don't know. It's something like that. I could be wrong, but I feel like I saw something like that. But I feel like he doesn't like him. He's just gonna come with a lot of baggage, like even more than Trump, because it's the kind of it's a kind of baggage that no one wants to touch. It's children, and it's the worst possible thing you can imagine happening to them. So I think he's almost just washed his hands of it and said, all right, I'm gonna take everybody, but I just can't deal with this guy. Maybe someday there can be some forgiveness or some penance or something that will make Elon want to work with Alex Jones and have him on the platform. But he seems to be like the one hard no for him.
Yeah.
And I think that it does come down to, like, the CP stuff, everything. Like, he really puts children first, and it's just something he doesn't want to touch.
Well, there was an interesting take. I'm sure you guys saw Megan Murphy was back, and so she's back, which is great. But one thing she put on here, which I thought was very very powerful, was please ignore all my old tweets until I can figure out how to delete them all. It turns out I was much more annoying in the past. Many apologies. So
Yeah,
it kind of
interesting.
Yeah, it plays to, like, sometimes you get
Personal
people
growth.
and there's personal growth, and people can change, and they realize, it's like the path to redemption thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I'm thinking of Alex, if he wanted his page back and he was like, I'm gonna be a different man or whatever. I mean, it's not even the fake news stuff. Alex Jones, a lot of what he says is correct. We find it out a year or two later or whatever, but he's on point about a lot of stuff, and he's also wrong about a lot of stuff. But if you compare him to, like, the media, he's probably right more than the Washington Post.
Yeah.
So it can't be
that's why it just
either.
seems like an overly emotional decision that Elon is making. And, like, there's because it's going to come back and bite him. And I understand why he's doing it at the moment. It doesn't mean I agree with it. I understand why he's doing it, though. And what's going to happen, though, watch, I'll bet you that people are going to start pointing out, well, hey, wait a second, why is this, terrorist account allowed on Twitter,
but not Alex Jones?
So you're not allowing Alex Jones, but you're allowing, X, Y, and Z others who are actually committing, violence. Like, Alex had a, conspiracy theory. It was not like he was. Well, I don't know what his intentions are, and I can't claim to, but I think there's, like, a huge difference between, like, child abuse, material and, what Alex did, which was, feed into a conspiracy theory. And again, yeah, like, even if for people who did the worst stuff, like, we're talking about heads of state who have committed genocide. We're talking about, some of the worst people in the world. The reality is that, and this is what the research shows, that you need a path to redemption. You need, for the sake of their mental health, for the sake of creating global dialogue, because guess what? The harsh reality that we're in is that heads of state are mostly, brutal people. But they need a way to communicate to each other. And then, sometimes the line between, like, a head of state and, a full-blown terrorist is, like, very blurry.
Yeah. I think on Twitter there's the Prince of Saudi Arabia, or somebody who speaks for him is on there. Kremlin's on there. And so these people are worse than Alex Jones. Alex Jones, I feel like it was personal because, like you said, Elon tragically lost a child, and he felt like Elon was attacking this group of parents who should never like something parents should never be in, a very fragile group of parents, and he felt probably part of their community in a way and felt like it was a personal target. But you're
There have
right, it
been
is
some really.
absolutely personal.
Go ahead.
Yes, it's a personal it was a personal decision, not it could be, I could see how it could go into business ones if people are just so adverse to Alex Jones, but I feel like they'd be adverse to Trump too, and he's back.
Right.
I don't think
Right.
it's all business. I think it's more
We did a
personal.
poll for that, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Alex realistically would lose the poll.
Yes.
Well, but
I
I mean, to be fair, like if you're gonna do poll for one, why not do, like
Yeah,
that's again,
exactly. Yeah,
I think by the comments, the poll was the poll was a bot magnet, and I think it was to see how the bots were working and kind of be able to isolate and study them and route them and get their IP addresses, because the bots all came like at the same time or something, Elon was saying. So that was something interesting. It was almost like he tricked the bots, like he dog whistled to them.
But he also
what did he explicitly? I mean, I know he acknowledged that bots were hitting the poll, but I don't think he explicitly stated that the purpose of the poll was for that. It was
kind of between the lines reading. You have to read between. This is what I do. I interpret, and I'm usually right, but the way that I interpret things. So it's between his comments about the poll and it's between the things that he liked at the time of the poll. But
what is this? This is like some kind of
he did say we're learning a lot about the bots.
But like, it's just funny to me that the state we're in is that people are basically trying to decode Elon's behavior to this is what
a lot of his tweets. They're layer upon layer.
Yeah. He does say the voice of the people and the voice of God there. That's, so it's like, I read it. Yeah, go ahead, Josie.
I said, who's God? Like, which God is he? Like, everything is more layers with him.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
But he's certainly having fun. I mean, he's just playing mind games to a certain degree. And, it's his company. So absolutely. And it's a huge step. Like, look, at the end of the day, for me, it's a huge step in the right direction. The fact that all these people are coming back is very important for, it's just clear progress. I mean, Twitter is a better place now than it was.
I agree. Absolutely.
So, my criticism more so just is in Elon's interest. Like, I want to not, I just want him to put himself into a position where, he isn't able to be attacked, like, because it's very easy for a lot of people to get frustrated with like the current system. And it's still only been a few weeks since he took over. So he definitely deserves the benefit of the doubt in terms of time. But some of the spicier stuff that I'm interested in your thoughts in, Josie, are like, now that, and this is just speculation territory, so we can have fun with it, but he's been under the hood now. We know that he kind of knows what's been going on. I'm sure some of the scandals, some of the skeletons in the closet. He probably has had people explain to him the shadow banning protocols and the algorithms. I mean, how could he not?
Yeah.
At this point. So like, what are your thoughts on the slow drip? Like, do you think that there's going to be bombshells that he puts out, or do you think that it's just going to kind of keep being this sort of slow drip?
I think Freedom Friday, we might see something big happen, and that might come with an announcement that might be related or unrelated to some sort of freedom of information, freedom of person, freedom, however he's going to tend to do those. I think he's mostly moving on from old Twitter into new Twitter, and we might learn things kind of in passing, like, oh, we're doing this differently as opposed to how they did it this way. But I don't think there'll be any enormous bombshells.
You don't think they're going to come out and like, so say we do, say there is evidence that, certain bias was happening during elections in the algorithm.
Oh,
you don't think you
elections?
Well,
I
with
think
elections or with anything. I mean, do you like, the point is, like, you don't think we're going to get like specific, disclosures along those lines?
really feels like he's trying to get away from old Twitter. So I'm
Mhm.
honestly, like, I'm not too sure. I really feel like he's trying to distance himself. So
Yeah. It's
really,
probably so nasty. There's probably just so much. It's such a
mhm.
hellhole.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure he found some awful stuff, and he's got to look at privacy and that sort of stuff. We did find out about the $15,000 that some of them were making people pay to get their check marks.
Right.
Elon found out
Right.
about that at the same time as us. So it
It's so funny. Yeah. It's like, that's like the biggest kind of scandal that has really come out. And simultaneously, I'm assuming you saw the DHS leaks headlines,
um
Josie. It was
which
basically like where they intercepted this report showing that Vijaya was meeting with Department of Homeland Security.
I did
Like,
see this.
yeah. So DHS had a whole portal for to be able to request takedowns from Facebook and Twitter.
Oh, actually, no, I didn't see this happening. I read about this happening, and I warned everybody that this was happening 2 years ago. There was a lawsuit. And I think that the lawsuit, oh God, what's his name? It was the guy who claimed to have invented email. What the heck is his name? Oh, I can't remember. A doctor something. He was Massachusetts. He ran.
Malone?
No. It's like oh my gosh. He ran for an office in Massachusetts. Oh, I cannot remember his name for my life.
All good.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, anyway, he was suing because he was saying they have a portal, like they're controlling it's like the Twitter. Actually, I have it written down right here. Hold on, I don't take them. Yeah.
Aya
Okay.
Durai.
What the heck is his name? It's gonna drive. I'm gonna wake up at 3 a.m. yelling it. I'm gonna like, that's his name.
Josie,
right,
is it Dr. Shiva Ayudurai?
yes, Dr. Shiva. That's the one. So,
Mhm.
Twitter. I'm gonna find exactly the name of this. Okay, yes, it is Dr. Shiva. Twitter portal. Okay, there it is. Okay, it's Dr. Shiva. And this one article was in the North Carolina Daily Gazette, and it was the U.S. government hacked Twitter to censor speech. And I wrote about this June 13th, 2021, and I wrote about it the year before too. So the Twitter Trusted Partnership and Twitter Partner Support portal allowed the government to issue censorship orders. And it turned out that Twitter had agreed to comply to avoid regulatory oversight. So what you're talking about, Vijaya meeting with the DHS, it all came out as evidence that this was happening because they were trying to tell everybody Dr. Shiva was just insane.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
so this is just one of those things where this is this is still happening. Like, these systems are still in place.
Yeah.
So, there's still some sort of communication, or maybe now that the moderation team at Twitter has been, gutted, maybe it's not happening.
It
We don't.
doesn't sound constitutional. So I feel like he doesn't have to honor anything that the old business did that was
Right.
like, he could be like, no, this is flat out unconstitutional. And what are they going to say? Because the other people were like, okay, all right. They were scared or they were willing
Exactly.
to take kickbacks or something. Who knows what the government was promising Twitter and Facebook,
Right. And the portal
so.
for Meta is still open. we
Mhm.
we did that in a different one. The portal still exists for Meta.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm sure it still exists for Twitter. The question is, are they honoring it? Like what has happened to those communication lines? And, I guess that, I am willing to be super patient because this is an absolute aircraft carrier of a company that is going to take time to reorient and fix. And
Mhm.
I'm totally empathetic with how hard it is. But I think that there is going to come a point. I don't know what the amount of time is for me, maybe like 6 months or something.
Yeah.
But if after 6 months we're not getting legitimate transparency, I'm
Mhm.
gonna be a little bit frustrated. Just because it it kind of was promised, and like I just don't really know how it benefits new Twitter to not kind of reconcile with the mistakes of the past. Like continuing to cover up the mistakes of the past, it's tricky because, you know, he's got liabilities now. So if this new stuff comes out where Twitter, you know, that could open them up to lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how that works in terms of like, is Elon responsible for old Twitter's mistakes?
I wonder too about privacy, if he had to sign some kind of agreement before he bought it about privacy of what he finds.
Oh, for sure. On some, yeah, on certain
Yeah.
level. But,
So
you
that
know,
will be really interesting over the next, 6 months or so to see what comes out, if anything comes out. And I feel like Elon, like everything he posts is really cryptic. I feel like if there is
Yeah.
something, it will probably be cryptic. So he probably won't come right out and say they were
yeah.
meddling in the elections. He'll probably say something, that you'd have to read 5 levels in to be like, oh my God. And then the person who guesses it, he'd like the tweet because that's what he does.
Yeah, he'll put a meme up. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like for me, like obviously letting people on is important, but one of the other things that he promised to do was come up with monetization options for
Oh,
Twitter
yeah.
users, and obviously at Minds we've been working really hard on that concept and
Hmm.
how to give back, how to allow success for the creators. And there hasn't been any talk about monetization, like it's
I
been
mean, that
all
like
this
for, yeah,
stuff.
I agree. And I'm sure, you know, there's going to be great monetization opportunities that they come up with. Elon, if anyone knows how to make money, he can
Hmm.
sell, you know, $75,000 machines in mass. So, you know, getting people to hand over a few bucks for creators is probably not going to be that hard for him. But ultimately, I just feel like upfront rather than focusing on like, you know, I think the freedom stuff needs to be focused on upfront personally.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if I was in his position. Just like, you know, he even said things like he would encrypt the DMs on Twitter so that Twitter doesn't have access to those messages, more like Signal. And that's like, it was amazing that he said that. That was one of the things that got me most excited when all these talks really first started. And, you know, now I'm seeing things like, oh, they might do paid DMs. Well, okay, paid DMs would be sweet, but like, what about the encryption stuff? Like, that's one of the sketchiest things about Twitter is that they're just reading everybody's, or at least they have access to everybody's DMs. And, you know,
you can't like do business or anything over Twitter because of things like that. And sometimes it's, you got to go through another party to do that. And, Elon sees that's a place where they could make money, maybe, like you were saying with paid DMs and that sort of thing. He knows how to
you
make
could
money.
still do paid DMs even, you know, with encrypted DMs. So it's not one or the other. They can definitely do both. And look,
But why would you want people to your site, to do business if they could do it right on your site?
For sure. Yeah. It's only, it's only going to bring more people over. So cool. Well, Josie, I saw that you officially did your first Supermind. That's pretty cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was fun.
So have you, what's your general feedback on the feature in general? Sean, maybe we can just show Libby's page or Josie's page. Sorry.
Right. People mix me and Libby up a lot.
You're probably the two most popular guests on Timcast IRL.
Yeah, Libby's on tomorrow too, so it's probably so that'll be fun. But no, Josie, I have the page up here. Yeah.
So I'm just curious for like creator feedback. You know, the idea of getting paid to reply for you and your fans, is that like, does intuitively that is an exciting thing for you?
Yes, it definitely is. Now, I have a large page, large following. I have over 200,000 followers now. But I get DMs from people who are like, I want to help you somehow and I don't know how to help you. Like, can I give you money? Can I retweet something? Like, can I do something? I want to help you because I want to spread your message and I want to make it easy for you. So something like that, I could be like, you can do it this way. And then you feel like you're doing something to help me, and I get those DMs like every single day, somebody wanting to help somehow, help me somehow, help spread the message somehow. So
Right.
I think
More than just like a basic donation. It's kind of like in this way,
Mhm.
this gives people the opportunity to support you, but also get to interact with you and like help spread the content more. So yeah,
Mhm.
so if those people DM you, you can just be like, hey, check out my page on Minds. Just send me a Supermind question over there or something.
Absolutely. Yep, that works really well, and that's a way to make people feel engaged and, to interact. And that's something I do well anyways. I try really hard to interact with my followers, and that would be just a way to make it extra special, for them.
Yeah, and like, Tim, and obviously anyone that goes live, they have the benefit. YouTube gives them the benefit of like live chats, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of creators that don't go live, and it's a question for people in the audience. I've asked it. It's like how can we support that person? It's not always easy, like to like, where do you go?
Yep.
But yeah, kind of the concept here. So yeah, you can go to Josie's page and ask her a question. And we're looking at a new feature now where I don't know if you want to mention it here, Bill, if we're gonna spoil it. I don't want to spoil it, but
Well, yeah, we've just
maybe.
been playing with this, Sean. Maybe you can just go to the Explore feed and then go to the Supermind feed. So we've been expanding Supermind so that you can potentially target many people at once and ask a question. So like last week we targeted thousands of users and we got everybody to, it was World Kindness Day. So we were just doing this fun
Aw.
thing, like asking what's one of the kinds of things anyone's ever done for you, and just hearing all of the, sometimes social media doesn't have to be so dark
Yeah.
and political. Just hearing stories about experiences of kindness that they've had, but this idea of being able to like crowdsource responses
Mm.
from huge groups of people on social media, I think is really powerful. So that's one of the things we're going to be doing with Supermind. And then, yeah, but just to close it off, I'm just curious from Josie, what is the most important thing happening in the world to you? Like what's your main focus? What are you really working on right now?
I feel like we're in a fight for our freedom, and that this is the fight of our lives. And there's been a lot of people who see communism through rose-colored glasses, but kind of going back to what Elon had done. He spent $44 billion on Twitter, and everyone's like, "Oh, Elon could have saved the world. He could have made nobody hungry anymore. Like he could have done different things with this $44 billion." But I think, he saw a much more immediate need. I think he saw that free speech was losing against the people it was intended to neutralize. And so he did, in a way, save the world. He saved it from itself. And that's where I think, between anywhere from speech to protest to self-defense to political views, anything, I feel like the rights of the people, and I mean, we have them in America and they might not have them in other countries, but those are targeted right now. And I feel like keeping people free is my biggest mission right now. That's what I feel called to do, is to let people know what their rights are and that they have those rights just by the virtue of being human. So
Absolutely. It's so amazing to me that there's calls for censorship, and what pro censorship people, pro deplatforming people and activists are forgetting is that in authoritarian countries, people crave free speech.
yes.
So, it's like over here we have, people have become so entitled to free speech that we're literally rejecting it, when meanwhile people who are actually abused under dictatorships would give anything to have these rights. And so, the word activist in the US has really become tainted, because if you look at like real political activists in Thailand, Vietnam, North Korea, China, I mean, these people would give anything for free speech. they think that free speech is a human right. And how do you feel about that, Josie? Just like this rejection of something that is really, it's literally like the core activist principle.
We have a supply and demand issue when it comes to oppression. So they have to create oppression. They found a way to make the oppressed people the heroes, but once you overcome the oppression, you're no longer a hero. So it's the fight that makes you a hero. So this is why you can never win. The oppressed people can never win, because the act of oppression is what makes you heroic, and that is dangerous. That is not good. But that's where we're at in America. Like, you have people who've, the World War II soldiers who went out and stormed the beaches of Normandy, not heroes, because they're not actively fighting an oppression. Once you overcome the oppression defines you. So once you overcome the oppression, you lose it. So they find ways to be oppressed, and the ways to fix it is just by chipping away at their own rights, and they just don't see it. And a lot of that has to do with the failing education system. They have no idea what the Bill of Rights is. They don't have any idea. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Is we need victors, not victims. We're in victim culture right now. We need victor culture.
Love it. That's a great spot to end on. So Josie, where can people find you?
You can find me at TRHL Official over at Twitter, and I think I'm the same handle at Minds.
Yep. Yeah, same handle at Minds. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. That was a great epic rant to end on. I fully agree with you. Sean, anything else from you?
No, thanks, Josie. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me.